ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. So welcome to our Saturday morning session. We are on our journey of Kathopanishad. Today we will take up mantras from 7 to 9. In the last session, we saw how the world of Maya keeps entangling us in one way or the other through multiplicity, through a chain of branches that keep extending one after another. And therefore, we remain entangled and we do not look beyond that. Now, we saw in the last mantra number 6, it says, Pramadantam Vitya Mohan Mudham, that the people who have, the attachment to the wealth, Vitt Mohan, and Pramadant, and who have arrogance, and also they are lazy. So that kind of people, they actually can never acquire this knowledge because they remain entangled in the world because of the attachment to the wealth, power, and prestige, and to the ego they want to develop. They want to show to the world that they are very important. Their existence is making things happen. And that kind of feeling gives rise to attachment. And that attachment gives rise to ego. Actually, it goes even beyond ego, it becomes arrogance. And that arrogance keeps them constantly engaged in the world. Like we just take the example of present crisis in the Iran, in the Persian Gulf region. You see, the President Trump thought that he would just do this bombardment for a few days, the leadership will be gone, and then there would be change of leaders in Iran, and they would negotiate with the US a deal which is favorable to them. That didn't happen. Then the operation continues, and then more bombardment happens, and now they are thinking of putting the ground troops, and then something else will happen. So the thing which was supposed to end in 2-3 days is already continuing for 28 days and will continue with God knows for how many days. The Strait of Hormuz, which was open, now has actually become an issue, and it is now closed, and they are trying to get it open again. So, you remain engaged in the world. The world envelops, or world keeps, promoting you into newer and newer activities because of the implications that arise from the previous activities. So that process is applicable to those people who are with the mohan, who are absolutely attached to wealth, those who are attached to power, attached to prestige, and who have become arrogant. So that kind of people cannot acquire this knowledge. This is what the previous mantra said to us. Now we will take mantra number 7 today. These mantras are very interesting for the learners, for the people, for the sadhak, for those who want to acquire spiritual knowledge. Now this is Sravanaya api bahuryabhyo na labhya. Sravananto api bahavo yam na vidyu. Ascharyo vakta kuslo asya labda. Ascharyo gyata kuslana sust. Now, we do not accept that there is something beyond this world. 9% people believe that this is the last life and enjoy this. And that is why the philosophy of Charvak and the Western philosophies are very popular. They believe that live this life and forget about what happens next. We don't know what is there, what is not there. Now, that is the tendency in us, which is deeply rooted because we work on the evidence. We feel whatever we can see, hear, taste. Then, if we can experience all that in our sense organs, then we can believe that there is a world beyond this world. But since we do not have that experience, we do not believe in that next world. In Sanskrit, there are three varieties of praman. Pratyaks praman. Pratyaks praman comes from the sense organs. You see something in front of you, you hear something directly, you taste and then you tell you. So that is a pratyaks praman. Then there's a anuman praman that you see, some smoke coming somewhere. It means there's a fire somewhere. So you have that estimate. It is based on what you call is a sort of hint is given by that evidence, and that hint leads to the existence of something else. So that is the second. And the third is Shruti, the Shastra, the Praman given by those people who have experienced it, and then they tell you. So in our Shastras, the Shruti, evidence is considered most important because this is based on the person who actually experienced it. Like, for example, Neil Armstrong, who landed on the moon, he comes and tell you about his experience on the moon. That would be the most authentic experience on the moon. Everybody else writing about moon will be all secondary or second-hand knowledge or an estimate. It will not be real knowledge. So the Shruti by those people who have experienced it becomes the most important evidence in our life. And that is what our Pramanas says, that what you see actually is not necessarily the correct version of seeing things. Because when you go to a city, the city looks so different in the morning. You go in the afternoon, it looks so different. In the evening, it looks so different. The same city is seen by three different people, they will have three different versions of that city. A city seen by a woman, she would have a different version, by a man, a different version. A child would give a very different version. So the same reality appears so different to different people at different times that the Pratyaks Praman is not considered very, very effective. It is not really authentic because our sense organs are not as powerful as they should be. They do not grasp the entirety of things. They only grasp the partial reality, not the complete reality. And different people grasp different partial reality, and therefore their experiences are so different. Like you put a painting in front of 5 different people and ask them to write about the painting, you will get 5 entirely different versions of the same painting. So that is why you cannot completely rely on Pratyaks Praman. And, Anuman Praman is also not completely reliable because it is also based on an estimate. But the evidence given by those who have experienced the reality, that is the real evidence. So this is what we call the evidence-based experience, which gives us the experience of the reality. This is very amazing. Sometimes most of us rely mostly on what we see, what we hear. But the Shastras say that what we hear and what we see is partial because our sense organs are not complete. They don't give us the totality of the picture. Only those people who have become one with the Supreme, they have the complete sense organ. They are Trikaldarshi. They can see the past, present, and future. They can see the reality in totality. And their description is most important. And that is why Shruti is considered as the most important evidence in our Shastras. And this Upanishad is part of that Shruti. This is the direct, conversation between Yamraj and Nachiketa, which has been quoted here. And Yamraj is actually one with the Supreme, and that is why this experience is the most solid evidence of reality. So now here it says that some people listen to the experience, and by listening, they don't understand. Some don't even get to listen to it. A large number of them don't even get to listen to it. You go and talk to a person who is busy with his business about spirituality, he won't care. He is not interested in that. So he won't even listen. He may be going to a temple and sitting there and praying, but in his mind, he will be thinking about his business. He will be thinking, how to promote this product, how to recover this money, how to take loan from the bank, how to innovate a new product. So all kinds of things he will be thinking while sitting in the temple. So his mind is not there. His mind is in the business. It's totally involved. So those type of people don't listen. They pretend to listen, or they give an impression of listening, but they don't listen. So that is one part. 99% people don't listen. Only few people listen. And out of those few who listen, all of them don't understand. Very few of them understand. Because the reason given here is that the reality is so deep. It requires very, very sharp intellect. It requires intellect which goes deep down, backward, journey. Let me give you an example. You see a house, a beautiful house. Okay. Now you see the exterior. It looks nice, and you are mesmerized. You congratulate the owner, and that's end of it. Finish. Now you don't go into the details. Most people don't go. 99% people don't go into the details. Now those who are interested into details, they will say, who constructed it? Who was the constructor? And what was his, experience? What was the material which was used in construction of the house? Then they say, who was the architect who actually designed it? What was his, study? What was his, experience in architecture? Where he came from? What are other buildings he has constructed? And then you will try to find out more details about the house. But 99% won't know that. We are satisfied, we saw, we congratulated the owner, that's end of it. But the owner is not involved in that house itself. He may have paid the money, but it doesn't mean that he is involved in construction and designing and architecture and, whatever else has to be done. So, once we start going into the detail, then more and more detail come. And then your intellect becomes sharp, and you keep asking very deep questions. And that is the kind of intellect is required in spiritual knowledge. When you go deep and deep, the questions arise in our mind. And then when you find a solution to those questions, then you acquire slowly that knowledge. So it says that a large number of people they are not even interested in listening to this knowledge. And those, some of them who are interested to listen, and they listen, they are not able to understand that. Savano api bahavo yam na vidyu. Even after listening, they do not understand what is going on, because their mind's approach is very different. Their thought process is very, very different. They interpret your words in a very different way. so they don't understand it. You have to be on the same wavelength to understand the knowledge, but you are not, and that is why these people are not understanding what you are saying. This is the second part. Then the third part is Ascharyo Vakta Kusalo Asya Labdha. That it is very difficult to find a person. It is an Acharya, it is a sort of rare chance that you find a person who is knowledgeable and who can explain to you the reality of life. So, Ascharyo Gyata Kuslani Kusti, that it is extremely difficult to find a person who knows this reality and who can tell you that. So there are three things here, in fact, four things. The first one was in the mantra number 6, that the people who are attached to this world, attached to wealth, attached to fame and name, and who are arrogant, they of course cannot understand it. They are out of this question. Then out of the remaining, a large number of them, 99%, they do not listen to this knowledge because they don't find it interesting. They don't want to go into the details. They are happy with what they are doing in their business activity or in their domestic activities, in their family life. Whatever they are doing, they are happy. They are not interested in this kind of knowledge. Then those who are interested in the knowledge and those who are listening, even out of them, very few are able to understand. Most of them do not understand. And then it says that it is also very difficult to find a person who fully can explain you this knowledge, who knows this knowledge and who can explain you this knowledge. So these are so many constraints around this spiritual knowledge. It's not so easy to grasp it and to get it. Only very few lucky people, who are absolutely fortunate out of millions, very few people are able to grasp this knowledge. Exactly this was told by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita chapter 7. In the very first verse, he said there are out of thousands, a few people try to understand me. And those who try to understand me, out of those thousands, one or two people understand me finally. So this is the region. These are the regions. Regions are very clear that because of these regions, we do not grasp this spiritual knowledge. It is very difficult to first develop interest into this field, and then to develop your intellect to that depth, and then you also get a reasonably good Acharya teacher who is able to teach you all these things. So because of this reason, it is very difficult to get this knowledge. So this is the background which Yamraj is preparing. He's telling Nachiketa that this is why this knowledge is so not known to the world, not very well known to the world. Then we go to the mantra number 8. Nan arena varen prokt es suviggeyo bahuda chintamana. That if somebody who has very little knowledge of spirituality and he keeps telling you about this, then you will not understand. Because the person who is your teacher, who is your Acharya, he should have much higher knowledge than you do. Like when you go to a university, we expect a professor to have much higher knowledge than what the student does. Then only the knowledge can actually flow from teacher to the student. Similarly here, the Yamraj is telling that those people who don't enough knowledge and their knowledge is not better than the knowledge of their students, then obviously they cannot teach the student. properly, or then the knowledge cannot flow from teacher to the student. In order to flow, there has to be, abundance of knowledge up, so that it flows like the river flows from top to bottom. Now, it can only flow when there's enough water in the river, otherwise it will not flow. The water is there, then it will flow from top to bottom and goes down. Similarly, the knowledge will flow from top to bottom only when the teacher has enough knowledge, and then that knowledge can flow down to the students, and then only you can understand it. Otherwise, you cannot understand the Atma Tattva, that word which has been used here, Atma Tattva. Now, the next part of this mantra is even more interesting. Ananya prokte gatiratra nasti aninay artyakta pramanat. Now, there are two things which have been used here. Ananya prokte gatiratra nasti, that the person should have connectivity with the Supreme. He should be one with the Supreme. Anya means another. Ananya means that it's one with the Supreme. The person who has acquired unity with the Supreme, who has become yukt with the Supreme, he can tell you the knowledge in the perfect way. Because then whatever he is telling is not partial knowledge. It is entirety of it, a totality of knowledge. It is what we call the Shruti, what we call Shruti. Shruti coming directly from the person who is one with the Supreme. Then you can understand it the best. The second thing here is this is Aniyan. Aniyan means it is so suksham, the knowledge is so deep, and it is so subtle that it is not easy to grasp. So that is another reason. So there are 3-4 factors here. The next factor is it is beyond, tark, beyond arguments. It is beyond intellectual power. This knowledge cannot be understood through intellectual power. It has to go beyond that. Intellect takes you up to a point. Let's take an example. Now, you understand that you sow a tree in the ground, you put water into it, fertilizer, slowly it will grow and become into a big plant and then a big tree. But then if you go into the seed of the tree, how the seed is made, then you cannot make the seed. You get completely perplexed that only that plant can make the seed. Without that plant, the seed cannot come into existence. Now the question arises whether the seed was made first or the plant was made first. If there was no seed, the plant cannot come. If there is no plant, the seed cannot come. So your intellectual fails. Your intellect cannot answer this question, whether the seed born first or the plant was born first. Similarly, a man was born first or a woman was born first. You cannot answer this question in terms of your intellectual knowledge. You fail, you cannot answer this knowledge, this question. So these are certain things which go beyond tark, beyond arguments, beyond rationality, beyond explanation by a human being. These are not many, but there are many examples. Now, another thing is aniyan. Aniyan means it is so small that you require a lot of, deep intellectual power to go to the deep and deep, because it's a journey backward into the existence. The journey backward means that you see your body, you understand, you know that your body is, working because you eat food. The food gives you energy, rest gives you energy, sleep gives you energy, and because of the body is surviving. But then you know that the body is running because of the sense organs, because you can see, you can hear, you can taste, you can walk. That is why your body is working. Otherwise, if you cannot walk, cannot see, cannot taste, then your body is like a vegetable. It has no meaning at all. So the second layer is, the first layer is the food part, the rest part, which keeps your body alive. The second layer is the sense organs, which keeps your body functional. Then if you go beyond that, then you find that the sense organs function because of the mind. The mind takes you. The mind creates a desire to see things, and therefore you travel to some other places and want to see those things. The mind tells you to go and talk to someone, and then you find that person, you go and talk to him. So the sense organs are governed by the mind. Mind is the governor of the sense organs. You will not listen to me now if your mind is not with me. Your ears will be with me, but not mind, then the ears will not function. So the third layer is the mind. The food layer, then comes the sense organs, and then comes the mind. And then mind has all the time duality. It's doubtful. To doubt is the nature of mind. And therefore you require some sort of, analysis to come to a conclusion. For example, you go to a restaurant, you are in doubt. You choose this restaurant, X restaurant, Y restaurant, or Z restaurant, where to go. Then you apply your intellect and you say, oh, let's see the rating, let's talk to the friends, let's find out which is the better one. And then you decide on that restaurant. So then your intellect comes into play. So the intellect governs your mind. So there are already these four layers, you see. The food layer, then the sense organs layer, and even there's one more in between. After sense organ, the pranic energy comes into play, and then comes into play the mind, and then comes into play the intellect. And then you go further down. Why my intellect is working? Why my mind is working? What is the reason? Then you discover that there is a thing called consciousness, which keeps them alive, which keeps this energy circulating all the time. Once that consciousness leaves, so you analyze the body. So you go from annamaya kosh to, pranamaya kosh, to manomaya kosh, to vijnanamaya kosh, and then you go to anandamaya kosh. So you do a backward journey. The anandamaya kosh is not visible from the body. You have to analyze this. And that is what is needed to understand the spiritual knowledge. You have to do a backward journey from this world to go to the reality, how this world came into existence, what made it come into existence, what is making it run, what is making it function. So all those things will become clear slowly, once you do this backward journey. So this backward journey is what requires a very sharp intellectual power. An intellectual power which takes you to the journey back in time, back in space, and then you are understanding this knowledge. So that is why it is saying that, firstly, a person of ordinary intellect, knowledge with very little, he will not be able to understand this because his mind cannot grasp this reality. Secondly, a person who is one with the Supreme, he can tell you the truth. His words are like Shruti, and that Shruti will enable you to understand this knowledge without any problem. And then it says this knowledge is very suksham, very, very small, aniyan, very, very small, very subtle. And therefore you need total dedication and very sharp intellectual power to understand, to analyze this and take this backward journey to this knowledge. And then it says that you have to go beyond tark, beyond arguments. The intellectual power will not reach you there. The intellectual power takes you up to a point, but after that it fails. As we saw in case of the seed and the tree and the man and the woman, or egg and chicken. All that tells you that intellect can take you up to a point. Beyond that it cannot. And that is why this knowledge is beyond rationality, beyond the intellect, beyond the arguments. The argumentative power can work in this world, but not when you are actually going into the spiritual domain. Then this power will not work. So you have to go transcend this knowledge, transcend this power, and go beyond it. So now we take the mantra number 9. Esa tarken mati parayana. Now it's again they are telling it that this knowledge is tarken, tark se bhi aage. Mati parayana, that it is buddhi se bhi aage. Mati se bhi dur hai aur tark se bhi dur hai. इसको न बुद्धि से पाया जा सकता है, न तर्क से पाया जा सकता. This knowledge, it is very clear that this knowledge cannot be acquired through argumentation, through rationality, through the intellectual power. It is, you have to go transcend that, go beyond that. And then it says, Ya pamape satya dhatir barsati. Oh, this is very important. That this knowledge, satya dhriti means the people who have a lot of patience, dharya is the word. That people who have satya dhriti means very correct intellectual passion for learning this knowledge, who are determined for this cause. Satya dhriti is the one which can take you there. Nothing else. Satya dhriti is the one. So he says, Nachiket, you have that satya dhriti. I have found that satya dhriti in you. That is what Yamaraj is telling him. Because he tested him. He gave him those 3 different offers. You take everything which is available in the world, you rule this world, and you go even to the Swarg and you get all the what you call great comforts that are available in Swarg. But he declined all of them. And that is why he's saying that, Hey Nachiket, you have that Satya Dhriti. You are a candidate who qualify for this knowledge. And that is why the Yamraj agreed to share this knowledge with him. So in these 3 mantras, a lot of good things have come. One is that if you remain entangled in the world and the world keeps attracting you again and again, that you cannot understand this knowledge. Then you will remain with mohen, pramadant, matlab, you will remain attached to wealth, you will remain attached to ego, ankar, and prestige and power and those kind of things. Then this knowledge is not for you. Then those people who do not listen means when they are listening, their attention is somewhere else. They are not interested in this knowledge. 99% people who have no inclination to spirituality, then obviously they are not listening. So they are excluded. And those who listen, out of them, only a few are able to understand that kind of knowledge. And then there are very few people who can explain this knowledge. Acharya, there are very, very few Kusalasya Acharya, very competent teachers who can teach this, competent gurus, not teacher, which can actually teach you. Because it is not a knowledge like you can acquire in a school. In a school, you have these textbooks which are based on certain, knowledge acquired by XYZ. Now, those knowledge which was acquired by others and documented, it can be grasped if it is mechanical. Like a student of, engineering, he can grasp that knowledge how to manufacture a particular plant or particular machinery, how to assemble it and how to assemble an engine. He can grasp that knowledge. But that knowledge is the knowledge of the external world. This knowledge of spirituality cannot be done in that manner. If somebody writes his experience that this is how he acquired this knowledge, that experience is not good enough unless you internalize it, unless you actually apply that to your own life. So that is why it says that a kusala acharya bahut zaruri hai. That is what you need, and he will be able to tell you. And then it goes further beyond that. It says that the acharya who is one with the supreme can tell you the best. He can give you the real knowledge, the totality of knowledge. And then it says that this knowledge is very, very subtle, very, it's like anu ka bhi anu, smaller than anu. It's a very, very, suksham. And then it is beyond intellectual prowess. The intellectual prowess cannot make you understand this. And then again it re-emphasizes Nasa Tarken Mati Prayana, that this cannot be learned through tark, through arguments, through debate, and it cannot be learned through intellectual prowess. It goes beyond that. And then he says, how? What is that? Satyadhriti. If you have complete patience with intellectual honesty, then you can learn this knowledge. So this is what he's telling. Satyadhriti is what we need. The actual word which has been used is Satyadhriti. We all have to have that Satyadhriti. Complete patience, total intellectual integrity, total dedication to learn this knowledge. Then only you can learn it. And then he says, Nachiketa, you qualify to learn this knowledge because you have Satyadhriti. So this is what Yamraj told in these three mantras. So this is what we have to do in our own lives also. We have to develop the Satyadhriti, complete dedication. This, we should not get entangled in the world. We should try to detach ourselves from the world, slowly, slowly. And then we should listen to this knowledge with detailed explanation, detailed attention. And then we should also have that determination, because this knowledge cannot be acquired in short term. It is not like reading a book and you can acquire that knowledge. It requires a lot of patience. It requires a lot of inner meditation. And then slowly, slowly it comes. So these are the qualifications that we require for learning this spiritual knowledge. Then we can be like Nachiketa. Thank you.